Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. This is Salwa of Salwa's Cape Malay Cooking. Have you ever wanted to make your own puff pastry or flaky pastry? Well, follow my recipe and we'll make some pastry together. So we're going to add 250 gram butter. You can use good quality margarine as well. So cut it into cubes and then we'll add 1.5 cups of boiling water. The water should have boiled and then you use it. Stir for the butter to melt into the water. You can leave it for a bit, for about 10 minutes, and it will be completely melted as well. And we're going to use cake flour or plain flour for this recipe. You'll need 4 cups of plain flour or cake flour, and a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice. So once your butter is melted, you'll add your lemon juice, like a tablespoon of lemon juice. You can use fresh lemons or the lemon juice that's in the bottles already, squeezed. And then we'll add your flour, 4 cups of flour like I said, and mix it all together. So the water will be warm still, so I'm using a spatula to do this. Incorporate the flour into the butter mixture, and you'll want all the flour to have been mixed into the water. At this point it will be a sticky dough, but once the butter has set with the flour and the water, you'll get a good pastry out of this. So the key to a good pastry is leaving it to rest in between the stages. So you should put a good few hours aside to make pastry, or this pastry in particular. So just mix it all together like that, and then I just tip it onto a surface and knead it for a couple of minutes. You'll see the more you knead it, the less it will stick, so don't be tempted to add any flour. Just knead it and it will come together and it won't stick anymore. So the butter is starting to set now. Hence you don't need flour. And if you're going to add flour, you're going to have a stiff dough. We don't want a stiff dough. We want a nice flaky pastry dough. When I've done that for a couple of minutes, I cover the bowl, or rather I cover the dough with a bowl, and after about 15 minutes you'll see the difference in the dough already. It's becoming more pliable and softer and a bit more stretchy. I'll just give it another few kneads, a minute or so. It will still be soft, the dough, at this stage. So what I do is I wrap it in cling film and leave it in the fridge for about half an hour to an hour. Once it's set for about half an hour in the fridge, I take it out and sprinkle my surface with, or rather dust my surface with some flour and another 250 gram butter. This is going to be rubbed inside the dough, so I roll my dough out very thinly into a rectangle, and just use flour sparingly at this stage. Like I said, you don't want a stiff dough, you want a soft, stretchy dough. Don't stretch it too much. Just use your rolling pin to glide over the dough. So as big as possible, you roll your dough out. And the 250 gram butter, divide into 2. So it's 125 gram butter that you're going to rub at this stage. And you can soften your butter slightly in the microwave or leave it at room temperature. You want your butter to be soft but not melting soft. So rub it over the dough like I'm doing here. For this pastry you can make pies, you can make tarts, you can make vol au vents. Anything that requires pastry you can use this recipe for. And then just another light sprinkle of flour again. And fold the dough over. Start from the top, fold it in a third. And then the other bottom part, fold it over again. And then the sides you'll do the same. One side, fold one side over, just another light sprinkle of flour, and fold it over about a third way, and another third over, and that's your first roll of the pastry done. Then I wrap it in cling film again and into the fridge for about half an hour to an hour. You want your dough to be firm but not hard or too soft. So usually I leave it for about say 45 minutes in the fridge. Just wrap it up completely, and there you can see it's been in the fridge for about 45 minutes. Unwrap. Flour the surface again lightly. And then roll that pastry out again like you did the first time. You can see here the texture has changed. Slightly harder or firmer pastry. And for this recipe it makes about 1.7 to 1.8 kgs of pastry, which can give you a good 30 to 40 pies, small pies that is. So it's good for a beginning. If you're new at pastry making, this is a good recipe for you to try out. So roll that pastry out thin as possible again. And then you rub your remaining 125 grams of soft butter over that pastry. You can see I've put mine in the microwave for a bit now. Slightly runny. Shouldn't be too runny, just soft enough to spread over the dough. And rub that dough all over the pastry. And sprinkle with flour again. And then fold like you did the first time. A third over from the top, the other third from the bottom, and then the sides. So you've rubbed twice butter into the pastry, and you're going to leave this to set for another 30 minutes to an hour. Right, and there's mine been in the fridge now for about again 45-50 minutes. Now I'm going to give my final roll. Lightly sprinkle the surface with flour again. Roll the dough out. Do not stretch the dough, just glide the rolling pin lightly over the dough. So now you're going to roll it out thin again. And then what I do is, after I've rolled it out, I cut it into strips, which is easy for me to handle when I roll the pastry out to make my pies or the tarts or whatever I'm making. And this dough freezes very well. You can wrap it in cling wrap and Ziploc bag and keep in the freezer. Take out as you use it. Leave it to defrost in the fridge or on your kitchen sink, depend on the weather as well. So you can freeze your dough, your pastry, and take it out of the freezer as needed. A good recipe to use for the holidays coming up, or for Ramadan, to make your pastries, your pies, and for Eid as well, for your tarts. So there you see I cut mine into about 3 strips, and then I roll it up, gently folding over. And as I said, out of this recipe I got about 1.7 to 1.8 kgs of pastry, which is a good amount for about 30 to 40 pies, or a big tart, or big pie, pastry. And for all my other pastry recipes, or to make a pie filling, you will find it here on YouTube. Just scroll through my videos and you'll find all the recipes. And I hope you've learned now how to make pastry, and you'll give it a go sometime and let me know what you think of the recipe. And be sure to press that subscribe button to follow us for more recipes. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.